Have you ever been in a conversation that suddenly you thought, I sound stupid or they're judging me right now? You are not alone and those thoughts are not true. In today's episode, we're diving into how negative thoughts sneak into our conversations, why they happen, and exactly what to do when they show up. You'll leave with tools to stay grounded, present, and confident.
What are other listeners saying about the podcast? Well, thanks for asking. Senora Croker said, this podcast is an absolute gem for anyone ready to step into more confident, authentic communication in any context. Rosemary and Elizabeth, that's us, their insights are empowering and encouraging, and I found myself using their tips immediately after listening. I highly recommend. Gracias, Senora Croker. That's so nice of you. Appreciate that. Appreciate it. Keep listening, y'all.
Welcome to Communication Skills for Working Women. I'm Elizabeth.
And I'm Rose May. Do you find yourself second guessing or avoiding conversations because you're worried about being misunderstood?
You're not alone. On this show, we're sharing tangible tools for assertiveness, emotional resilience, and real life communication wins and fails.
Let's sharpen our communication together. You know, I didn't even realize how loud my inner critic was until I said something I wish I hadn't said. And then I kid you not, all I could think about the rest of the entire conversation was how stupid I was for saying what I had said. And I wasn't even listening or engaged or even part of the conversation because the voice was so loud, it drowned out the rest of the conversation. And this wasn't like a long, drawn out conversation. It was maybe like 3 or 4 minutes. But honestly, for those 3 or 4 minutes, I can't even tell you what the other person said because I just kept thinking about how, like, what I just said was so stupid. And then it started to create some anxiety because then I was like, I'm not even listening. What did they just say? Right? It was, oh my gosh, it was the worst cycle that I can possibly describe in terms of communicating. So today we'll learn a few ways to overcome that negative voice when it shows up. Got 4 skills for you. So name the thought, don't bury it. Ask yourself, is this fact or feeling? Redirect to the present moment and prepare an empowering mantra.
What you all couldn't see was me just shaking my head yes as Rosemary was describing that scenario, right? I was at
Mm,
an event a few years ago and I remember I was talking with this woman who she just seemed like she had it all together, very professional, very confident, and all I could think was why would she want to keep talking to me? I would try to
aw,
contribute to the conversation. I couldn't even get my brain to produce a question that felt good. I just kept thinking, I'm dumb. Why am I talking so much? It left me feeling so frustrated and really mentally and emotionally exhausted. And the problem wasn't that situation or the people in the room, or it was that internal noise. It had really nothing to do with her. It had everything to do with me learning how to manage the thoughts that kept coming into my mind.
mm, that is real. So real. So let's talk about what you can do in those moments when negative thoughts try to sabotage your conversations. Like it sabotaged my one conversation. So let's go through those 4 steps that have made a huge difference for me and for many of my clients. So, first, name the thought. Don't bury it, right? Instead of pushing it down or choosing to believe it, mentally say, that's a negative thought, right? What that does is it creates space between you and that inner critic. Or even instead of reacting, just pause and mentally say, I'm having a negative thought right now. That small shift creates distance, right? So you're not fused with that thought and it gives you power in that moment, a different kind of power in that moment.
Naming things is so empowering. Just giving it that little bit of validation
Hmm.
and not burying it is it's just really powerful. And then that can lead you to this next thing. Ask yourself, is this a fact or a feeling?
Remember
Chances
episode 1, y'all?
Yeah, it's true. Feelings are not facts. Chances are that the thought is not based on reality. Challenge it gently and ask yourself, what's the evidence for this thought? We've also just realized and talked about in episode 7 that our brain looks for evidence around
Hmm.
things. So I know that for me, I usually can find evidence for a feeling that I have. I'm like, oh, no, it is true. But when I'm gently challenging myself, I usually can realize that that evidence isn't factual. So another thing you can ask is this a fact or just a fear?
Ooh, that's a deep question.
Right?
Really deep question. Yes.
Right. So if you think, oh, they're bored, when I'm talking to someone, oh, they're bored, ask, what am I basing that on? And
Mm,
most of the time, it's just like, oh, I'm afraid that they're bored.
yeah.
They may not be bored.
Yeah. And you can even go back to episode 6 where we're talking about clarifying questions, right? And just clarifying in that moment, clarify, ask a clarifying question.
Right.
What's going on for you right now? We talked about this in episode 7
Yes.
too. What's going on for you right now, right? So you can even check it out in
Right.
real time,
Right.
right? And that could help create the that creates the space between that thought or that feeling that you're having and what's actually going on in the moment. But that requires you to be a little bit more present, right? So the third part of this is redirecting yourself to the present, right? Focus on the person who's speaking. What are they saying? What do they need? Redirect your attention outward. It really helps to interrupt those internal spirals, right? And redirecting to the present can be something as simply as like relaxing your shoulders. Remember we talked about that, softening your shoulders. It can be something as simple as really directing your attention to what that person is saying, focusing on their tone, on a detail they're sharing, on their facial expression, bringing your attention back to them pulls you out of your spiral. You can resource within your body, right? So taking deep breaths in the midst of your conversation. Don't look weird doing it, right? But you can definitely you can definitely look like engaged and normal while you're doing it. But even just taking deep breaths and slowing things down for you can really help to redirect your attention to the present moment.
Right. As you're talking about this, I'm thinking about Zoom meetings and phone calls and text messages where sometimes these things get misinterpreted, or I'll
Mm,
start to have a negative thought during the conversation, or feel like I'm being misinterpreted or not listened to. And just the other day, I was working with someone and I was trying to share an idea and I felt like he was not listening. And I
oh.
immediately was starting to have negative thoughts. I mean, immediate
Ooh.
negative thoughts of like, he doesn't listen and he da da da. Like, I just
Yeah.
had these negative thoughts. And I took a deep breath, I took a pause,
Okay.
and I looked at him and I was like, he is dealing with something else.
Oh.
Like, it just took a second for me to realize that something else had come up for him.
Ooh.
I let him finish what he was doing, and then he came right back to me, and we were able to discuss my idea. And I was like, the power of a pause
I'm
changed
telling you.
everything.
I'm telling you.
I could have gotten really I could have gotten really upset, and I did. Immediately, I did. I had these negative thoughts, but that pause calmed me down, and it gave him the time to finish what he needed to do
Yeah.
to come back, and then we had a great collaborative conversation.
Oh, well, that had a happy ending.
It did. It really did. Another thing that you can do is to prepare an empowering mantra. Have a phrase ready like, I am safe to speak, Or connection matters more than perfection.
That is probably my all-time favorite quote right now is connection matters more than perfection. And sometimes we feel that our connection needs to be perfect
Mhm.
and it doesn't need to be perfect.
I also like the mantra, I'm allowed to take up space,
Hmm.
verbally and physically. I'm allowed to be here and to share my thoughts, and so is everyone else.
This reminds me of, I'm going rogue for a second. This reminds me of a conversation that I had with a friend the other day who works in an environment that is predominantly male. And oftentimes she says to herself that she's not allowed to take up space. These guys have been working together for forever. She's a newcomer into the team. She's not always 1,000% like familiar with what's going on, which I
Mhm.
think can, feed into our insecurity a little bit. Also, I mean, we just don't want, nobody wants to go into a meeting and sound dumb because they don't know what they're
Right,
talking about, right?
right,
But I think that feeds into the insecurity, and she expressed herself when we were talking as if she wasn't allowed to take up that space to ask questions or to participate or to help generate ideas or to share her ideas. And I think as women, sometimes we are, I'm not going to say I think, we've been taught and we've been socialized as women to be the nice, kind woman who doesn't take up too much space. Now, I say that with a caveat that we need to have some self-awareness, right? Like you need to know when you need to shut up, right? And there are some times when we do need to shut up, right? In situations where we definitely need to shut up. And it's okay to take up space in these situations where perhaps we're feeling a little bit less confident or we've been socialized to believe that we aren't allowed to take up space.
right. When you're just talking about, we need to know when to be quiet, it just reminded me of the earlier episodes of brevity, starting with your bottom line first,
Mm-hmm.
making sure you're clearly communicating.
Mm-hmm.
And you can give the extra context, and your ideas do matter. And it's important to read the room. And
Yes, read the room, please.
yes, when people are checking out, maybe it's okay to stop talking.
Yes, or okay, I'm going rogue again, but I had a situation once where someone who wasn't a member of a specific social group was was suddenly the expert at this specific social group, right? And it was one of those times where it was like, "Oh my gosh, please stop talking."
Yeah.
Only because like there were other people who in the room who were actually members of this social group, right? But this person who wasn't a member like felt that their, I'm not going to say what they felt. It seemed that they felt that their expertise was so much more valuable and important than the people who were actually members of that social group. I'm just saying, like, again, just be aware, read the room, and also recognize that you are allowed to take up space and speak, right? It's
Right.
that delicate balance.
Right. And when you are taking up space and speaking, those negative thoughts may creep in. So remember,
Hmm.
the goal isn't to have the goal isn't to have zero negative thoughts. The goal is really to be able to manage them, not believe them when they show up, and to know what to do when they do show up. So you don't leave a situation feeling awful like I did, or you don't not hear the rest of the conversation like Rosemary did because you're so caught up in those negative thoughts. I
I'm
wish you
so
guys could see Rosemary's face right now. Her hand over her eyes.
that was so
Just
awful. It was so awful. I'm telling you, I did not hear a single thing after I said what I said.
We
Wow.
have all done it. Maybe we'll do an
Yeah.
episode one time of all of, not all, it would have to be longer than one episode, but of some of our best fails in communication.
That's a good idea. The worst fails like a blooper reel. It's like a
Right?
blooper reel. Oh my gosh.
Our
Yes,
fails.
that's a good idea. You always have the best ideas. Okay. So, folks, here's your homework for this week. Pick one mantra you'll use in conversations when negative thoughts pop up. Practice naming your negative thoughts when they arise, even outside of the conversations, right? You don't need to necessarily need to be having a conversation with someone. And if you journal, write down one recent interaction and reflect on what your inner voice said. Was it helpful or hurtful? Right? So choose any one of those, practice one, even if you just do it once this whole week. Just doing one thing completely shifts our communication styles, our communication habits. It would be wonderful if you could share your mantra with us on Instagram or tag us in one of your stories. Let's just build this new narrative together. Let us be a part of that. Please, asking for your permission to be a part of that new mantra.
Remember, you are not your thoughts. You are an observer of them. And with awareness and practice, you can shift this. So if you found this episode helpful, be sure to share it with someone who could benefit. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. Your support means everything to us. Connect with us on Instagram at Communication Skills for Women or send us an email at communicationskillsforwomen@gmail. Or check out our website for more personalized coaching at communicateconnectthrive.com. If you are looking to be part of our community, we've provided a link to Facebook below. Until next time, speak clearly and listen bravely.
When you feel confident in your communication, everything changes.
We'd love to hear your wins, failures, and insights on Instagram at Communication Skills for Women. Leave a review and connect with us.
Until next time, speak clearly and listen bravely.